exciting episode of Café Israeli. We're hosting my personal childhood hero, I guess, the first Israeli Olympian, Yael Arad, and I'm not hosting this show by myself. Together, joining me as a co-host, Maccabi USA's 21st Maccabiya chairman and Maccabi USA Judo chairman, and also USA Olympic Judo team manager, Lou Moyerman. Lou, welcome to our show. Thank you for joining me. Great. Let's switch to Yael Arad with a short introduction. Yael Arad, born and raised in Tel Aviv, started training judo at the age of 8, together with her brother at a local club. 3 times European championship medalist, 2 times world championship medalist, 1992 Barcelona Olympic silver medalist and the first Israeli to win an Olympic medal. Yael's achievement inspired a generation of Israelis, and she is rightfully credited for bringing judo into the athletic mainstream. After her retirement, Yael coached judo with Israel Olympic team and at 2001 became involved in several highly successful business entrepreneurship. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a bit excited. Which most of them are related to products and production for children. Today, Yael is head of commercial division in Nickelodeon and Viacom brands in Israel. And for many years, she's voluntarily involved with the Israeli Olympic Committee. Yael, I hope it was accurate. The introduction was accurate. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was great, and thank you. And I'm happy to be with you.
Likewise, I'm honored and privileged, and for me, it's a personal dream coming true. I gotta say that, like many other Israelis, I grew up, seeing your amazing achievements and bringing so much pride and for such a small country. And obviously, 1992, it even felt much smaller than it is today. And I'm sure that we can elaborate a bit more about these times, and we will have an opportunity to do so. But let's start, before we go to the past and before we talk about the future, let's start with some present. Please tell us, how are you today? What's going on with you, both personally and professionally, as much as you obviously can share with us. We know that in Israel, the coronavirus-related situation is getting a bit better. Unfortunately, here in the US, we are still a bit lagging behind. So please tell us what's going on with you.
Okay, so as I said, I'm really excited to join you, and also, for me, talking with you now, I'm sure you are going through a very difficult time. Here in Israel, we had quite tough 2 months. It's not with a high number of sick citizens or death, but especially because of the uncertainty that we all had, and the situation that we had to stay at home and with the kids without schools. But Israel managed to get out of this situation after 8-10 weeks. And now you can go out and have traffic on the streets, which is something that you hate always, but to get back to the traffic in the streets, it's something that we're very happy. We already started to go to school, and the parks, sport, elite sports started. The football and the basketball league started to get back to training. Even the seashore, the beaches today were open officially, even though the last 2 weeks all the youth and youngsters went out already to the beach, and the atmosphere is like freedom again, and people are getting out of also this mental situation, which was, I'm sure you know what I mean, and especially parents for young kids that had to stay at home with 3-4 kids at home, and You know, it's not easy, and many of them also still worked. So it was not an easy time. For me personally, I must admit, I got through this quite, you know, it was I can't say good time for me, but it was really fine because I have two older children. My son Tom is 22, graduated the army, and my daughter Danielle, she's 19 and she's in the army now. So you know, I don't have young kids. I have a very nice garden which I could hang around a little bit. I have a dog which I could take him to some trips, and it was and I could work. So really, for me, you know, it was not so bad. And now we're going back, and it looks good. We hope everything will be fine, and I'm really pray for you as well that soon you can feel the same.
Thank you about that. Is there any conversation going regarding reopening the contact sports? Is there anything that you hear about it? Obviously, it seems almost impossible to have martial arts competitions considering the current situation.
You mean in Israel or?
Yes, in Israel.
No, in Israel. In Israel now, all sports are back for elite sport. It was we managed, you know, as you said, I'm part of the Olympic Committee, and we managed to push hard for our Olympians, and not only the Olympians, also for all other kind of sports, the Paralympic, the non-Olympic, for the elite sport. And they got back to training already a few weeks ago. And with, you know, we have this method of capsules that you actually take a small group that will train together, and they're not changing their training partners. So it went well. Now we worked very hard to bring back the afternoon, you know, I don't know how we call it, the afternoon chugim. The
classes for kids, yeah.
Classes for kids. So I think next week they're coming back, and you know, step by step, people are coming back. Also, the martial arts and all kind of sports. It will be fine. We are much more concerned about the international, you know, because until, of course, each sector has its own problems, and I'm sure there are many business problems, and of course, like I'm in the business, so I know all kind of business, all kind of problems. But for sport, for athletes, that for our Olympians, the Israeli delegation was 85 athletes, men and women, that were supposed to go to Tokyo 2020. It was supposed to start the 24th of July. It was postponed, as you know, to 23rd of July next year. So for them mentally, it's a big thing, and we are looking forward the whole Olympic world for the time that the planes start, you know, going around, and the countries' borders will be opened, and it will be possible to make again the competitions, international competitions. We don't know yet how it's going to be, but we're looking forward.
On one of our previous episodes, we hosted Ori Sasson, and he shared with us his concerns and his preparations. So yeah, we definitely would love to elaborate a bit more about that as well. Okay, let's go back a bit, and you know, and have some questions, several questions about how everything started. So you grew up in Tel Aviv to two parents, both of them were journalists, and you have 4 additional siblings. Now, That's a very interesting point for me, the Arad household, and I'd like to and after this introduction, I'll ask the actual question. So, one of your brothers is one of the top political advisors in Israel. Your sister is a brilliant brain researcher. You have a brother who is a very successful attorney. And one of your brothers is also a mayor of a small municipality in Israel. I'm wondering, what were you eating there back in the Arad house? What's so special about you guys? Put aside,
Actually,
I mean,
myself
including
and
your tremendous achievements.
Yael, my older brother, and myself, we eat everything. And the others are not eating so well. So it's not about food. But yes, you know, it's funny because for the last few years, people are keeping asking me this question because, you know, when we were younger, okay, one brother, one sister are getting famous because they're doing this or that. And then eventually we're five, you know, brothers and sisters that fulfilled their dreams and went through a way of hard work and, you know, got to a position that when you look at this kind of, you know, five positions, so you can maybe, that's why you are asking this question, but I'm always telling the same story. You know, I'm a young Yael from Tel Aviv, and I'm coming from a really normal family. Yes, my parents were both journalists, worked very hard, and we were not a rich house or nor famous house, just a normal family. And I always say that if I managed to become the best in the world in what I did, probably everyone can. Everyone that has talent in what they are doing and they are willing to work hard, but really hard, you know, long distance running. And anyone that believes in himself, anyone that believes that even us from such a small country, Israel, that is 0.01 you know, percent of the population around the world, even us can become the best in the world, can, you know, have the startup that will, you know, invent something really special, or have the best army, or win a Nobel Prize, or yes, win an Olympic medal. I think that the success is not for special people. The success is for people that are believing in themselves and are willing to set goals and to go through the way. And the way is always quite tough. You know, when you look at the way I did or any other successful person did, it's not about where you came from or you know, if you had money or not. It's about your ability to go through a long way, about knowing what you want to achieve, and especially I think about willing to have failures and the disappointment, and to understand that it's part of the way. Probably you have more disappointment than success in the first, you know, part of your career. And maybe the thing that separate from the successful people, I mean, people who fulfill the dreams and the ones that didn't, it's not about only the talent. It's a lot about the ability to go through this way, to get some failures and disappointment, and to get up and say, yes, maybe I disappointed myself. Maybe I couldn't make it, but if I will work hard enough, if I will continue working hard and believe in my dream, I will make it. Many times I think that people, when they, you know, feel the wall, they say, okay, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's too hard. People and many youngsters, they like to say, oh, it's too hard. And many times for us as parents, we find ourselves, we don't like so much that our children working hard or sad because they couldn't make it. So we say, oh, don't work so hard, you know, maybe it's not for you, take the highway. And I think that if you really, you know, have the passion for something and you're willing to go the way, you will make it eventually. And I think if I go back to your question, in my family, I really have, I had, I mean, my mother is 83 years old and she's great. My father passed away more than 20 years ago, but they were always there for us. It didn't feel like our dreams is their dreams. They really were behind us and just, I think, taught us that there is no limit to our dreams or will, and we have to work hard to really and believe in ourselves. And every time we came with you know, problems, they said, okay, never mind, it's hard, we know, yeah, maybe it's not easy like you want it to be, but we are sure that you can make it. And I think that it was simple as that, you know. That's it.
So I assume your parents were not, you know, greatly involved in your career, in your progress. They didn't work for you to become an Olympic champion. It's something that came, this passion, this drive, it's something that came from you. You made yourself, right? Obviously.
I wouldn't put it this way. I think, yes, it was my passion. I worked very hard. I was quite crazy, you know, something that you will not find in any kid, not then, not today, but with the passion, you know, and looking forward and everything. But I think my parents have, you know, important part in my success, because they were there for me. They always, they didn't push me, but they backed me. They were there for me in everything I needed, and I needed a lot of support. You know, I always tell this story that I'm sure you all know. You know, there are parents, not because they are, you know, bad or good, but when we grow up, and many times we like that our children will maybe fulfill some dreams that we couldn't make.
Our dreams, and, yes.
Yeah. You can. We have many jokes about it in Hebrew about football players, you know, soccer players. That someone, you know, when he has a
yelling at the coach.
Yeah, 5 years old boy. So he put him in a afternoon class for football, and the boy doesn't like it at all. And then you know, he coach him and he push him, and then you know, the boy likes to be, I don't know, a singer. So this is a great joke in Israel, but this is true. Many times parents, doesn't matter if you are a doctor or a lawyer, or it's not only men, it's also women. They like to, you know, to direct their kids to the place they think it's good for them. And my parents never did it. Each one, where there is a lot of diversity in, you know, between my brother and sisters. Always when I went to competitions, since I was very young, my mother was standing near the door, and she never wanted to come with me. And she said, you know, we really like you to win, but we will love you anyway. And this is a sentence, it's quite silly sentence, because of course parents like their kids, but you know, for kids that are talents, and they like to win in any mean, and they never get any failure, for them to know that when they come home, the place is ready for them. They don't have to prove anything. And the love of their parents is not because they're winners, just because they're, you know, their kids. This is a very important thing for them. And I think that it gives a lot of confidence and support. And as I said, in this way, it doesn't matter if you are a musician or entrepreneur in a young age or athlete or anything else. You need this support, and you know, it's a long way, and this is something that is very important.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lou, I think it's a good time for some Olympic journey related. Yeah, let's switch to judo.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lou.
I have some judo related. So when you started judo, did you have a mentor, a coach, someone, a role model that you looked out to? And you started young, you were like 8 or 9. What kept you in judo? Did you like it? I mean, was it fun? Were you at 8 years old? Did you have aspirations then of being a world champion? Tell us a little bit about the start of judo.
So I started judo because of my brother Yuval, which is the mayor of one of the cities out of Tel Aviv, and he was you know, not so strong boy. All my 3 brothers are older than me, and my sister is younger than me. So I grew up, and my sister was born only when I was 10 years old. So I was, you know, the only girl in the family, and I was a tomboy, a girl that liked to do the things that the boys did. And I grew up with 3 brothers. So my brother Yuvali, I don't know, some kids in his school, you know, punch him a little bit, and I don't know. And then my parents wanted to send him to martial arts, and we had only one club of judo in Tel Aviv. Today you can go around the country and Tel Aviv and everywhere. There are so many clubs, but then only one club. And I was swimming at that time. I was very good in sport, in all sport, and I was swimming. I was 8 years old, and I went with him because, you know, I like to do what my brothers did. And then when I got there, it was really great because I really loved it to take the boys and throw them on their back. I did it immediately, and it was easy for me. And then, you know, when I became at the age of 9.5, I went to my first Israeli championship, and I won all the fights until the final. And in the final, I lost. I still remember the name of the girl that I lost to her. It was Ilanit. And then when my mother said that 2 days I sat in my room and I didn't want to go out and play. I was crying all the time. And as you can imagine, it happened to me many times afterwards as well. But the year after, when I was 10.5, I went to the Israeli championship. I beat all the other girls, and I also beat Ilanit. And then I won my first gold medal. It was for me, until today, I remember this day. It was the happiest day in my young life. And only when I became 16, after I was year by year, I was an Israeli champion, but only when I became 16, I went to Europe for a big training camp. And then I met there, you know, very tough women. They were world champions, European champions, and I was only Israeli champion. I was training then in my club once a day. You know, I took the bus every day from one part of Tel Aviv to another, and I was training every day, 1.5 hours. And when I got there, I saw that they're training 3 times a day, 6 o'clock in the morning, running, then weightlifting and techniques, and then in the evening, you know, a long session of judo. And that was the time when I decided that I would like to become the best in the world in judo. I was 16. I sat on the mat after one of the training, and I looked at these women, and I said to myself, they're only human beings. If they can be the best in the world, I can do it as well. The only thing I have to do is to do what they are doing. And I understood that they were professionals. But you know, Israel at that times was, we didn't have any, not only Olympic medal, we didn't have any medal in the World Championships, in any Olympic sport, and any medal in the European Championships. So it was like a bit crazy decision. And I did it, of course, for myself. When I was 16 and 18 and 20, when we went to competitions, the coach always told us, oh, you lost, never mind. At least it was with pride. You know, we are proud that you gave everything you could. They didn't expect us to win. And for me, this decision was really, very important. And that was the day that I became professional, not because anyone, paid me, because I decided that I would dedicate my life to become the best in the world in judo. And it took time.
It's wonderful. You just answered about 4 questions I had talking there about that. But a lot of people on the call aren't judo people, so I wanted you to talk to them about the grind you had to go through. You just talked about it a little bit, that you had 3 practices a day instead of 1, and turned amateur judo into professional judo. So at that time in Israel, there wasn't a whole lot of people that were there. So where did you also go to train? Where was your favorite place overseas to train? Where was your favorite place overseas to visit, and why?
So in the beginning, I was training in Europe. My mother she has a cousin that was living in France, in Paris. And in France, the judo is very popular and very professional. And I understood that if I would like to become the best, I have to train with good judo players. In Israel, I was training in my club, and in the team, it was not enough, and the technique was not good enough. And I didn't have enough people, especially enough women to train with. So I had to actually train abroad. So I started to go to France, to Paris, and by myself, and I had connection with the team there, and started to train. Since I was 17, 18, I started to go around by myself. I managed to learn some French, because they're not talking English too much, and I gained a lot of friends. And I was living in the apartment of the cousin of my mother, and just traveled every day for training, many hours of training with the team in France, and in one of the clubs. And step by step, I started to become better. But I think that the real story is not about traveling, but it's about the breaking through the way to the top. Because I think it's not only in sport; it's in any profession that, especially if you look at startups. Because I think to be an athlete is very similar to startups. I can say about myself that I'm working in this space quite a lot, so I really see the similarity. Because it's like to take an idea and decide that you would like to grow this idea and to build it technologic-wise and marketing-wise and selling-wise, and that this idea will break through, and you can make your exit and prove concept and everything. And the athletes are the same, because how can you imagine that a young girl from such a small country that never won anything in the international sport, will become the best in the world. And in a sport that no one knows in a country, and she doesn't have any facilities. And I think that the first step is to set the goals, to dare set goals that are really big from you and your country and everything. And the second step is after that you realize that it's so hard and so difficult to go through the wall. And I like to tell you one of the stories that maybe will make this point. You know, when I was 17, I went to first time to the World Championship for female, for seniors, not for youngsters like they have today. Then we didn't have, and they were all 25, 26, you know. And I won few fights, and I was 7th in the world, which 7th in the world was the best achievement for the Israeli judo and for most of Olympic sports. But you know, it's not a big deal to become 7th in the world. It's very nice, but you know, it's not a big deal. And then I trained already twice a day. You know, I went to the army. I was a sport instructor. I worked hard in the army, but still I could train in the morning, in the evening. I couldn't break through this 7th place in the world. I went to competitions, you know, in Belgium, in Holland, in England, everywhere, but I couldn't break through. And I worked really hard. And when I was 22, after 5 years, I was still 7th in the European Championship, 7th in the world, in a, you know, maybe sometimes 5th in a small European tournaments, but I couldn't make it. And then I understood that I have to do something different. So, you know, my coach back then, my first coach from the club, he was really tough guy. His name is Moni. And we grew up in a very good club, and he was very strong mentally. But he left the country when I was 18. And I was training with the coach of the team. He was a very nice guy, but he, you know, he didn't believe in my dream. He didn't believe that we can become the best in the world. So I had to choose another coach. So I choose a coach. You know, he was only 30 years old. Was a Israeli champion in the past, but I felt that he believes in my dream and he believes that it's possible. And then together with him, I changed my weight category because, you know, in judo, you have to go through categories, and I was 56 kilos. I don't know how much is it
in pounds.
Yeah, I don't know. In pounds, yeah, but I was 56 kilos, and I changed my category. He wanted me to change the category because I had to do a lot of diets because my weight was already 5 kilos above, and I had to do very tough diets. And I got very weak during this process, and it's you know, 10 times a year. So then my coach wanted me to change my category, and I was very, very afraid. I wanted to be in the same place that I know my competitors, but 3 months after I changed my coach and I changed the category, I won the 3rd place in Europe. Bronze medal in Europe. It was the most important achievement in the Israeli sport ever, in the Olympic sport, not only in judo. It was back in '89. And it was for me breaking through this 7th place circle that I was in for 5 years. Now imagine yourself that you would like to have something for 5 years in such a young age, and you can't make it. Many of my friends already, retired. When they went to the army or after the army, they went to study, but I was like this. And that taught me a very important lesson about myself and about life. That if you go only in one way, after other people, and you go with the innovation, rhythm, so you can't make it. But if you choose your own way and you believe in your way and you dare to have changes when you feel that it's the right thing to do, and you manage your growth, so this is something that will take you forward. And if you just stay where everybody stays and do what everybody do, and okay, if it's not possible, it's not possible, so you will never get there. And this point I took with me to life, because if I have to put my finger on the minute that I did it, it's this, when I was 22 and I made these decisions, and I took my life forward. Okay.
Wonderful.
So I think this is very important.
So everybody here is probably waiting for when we're going to talk about Barcelona. So you're in Barcelona. We take you back a few years, although you don't look any different and you're quite as beautiful as you were when you were there. Okay. I got to suck up a little bit, everybody. You had 3 matches to get to the semifinals, and you had a German girl in the semifinals. And I've read some of the things that you wrote. I'd like you to tell everybody, probably the most important match you ever fought might have been that match. What did you feel like the whole day? What did you feel like after you won the match? Because now you're in the final, you're guaranteed a medal. Of course, everybody wants gold, but my God, a silver medal in the Olympics is quite incredible as well. How did you feel when you won that match, about where you were for you, your family, for all Israeli judo, and for all the people of Israel, that you now had a medal and you had to fight later on, a few more matches? People understand judo, you just can go out every 10 minutes and fight, and every match in the Olympic is a war. No one gets an easy match. It's all very, very tough. So tell us about that day a little bit, and about that match, and about the final, and everything you felt. We all want to hear that, okay?
So it's like you asked me 20 questions.
I know.
Yeah, but I'll try to, to involve you in really in this very special days, maybe the day before, the day of the competition, and the days after. So, that when you come from a country that 40 years compete in the Olympic Games and never win any medal, and also when you come from a country that had this very, special tragedy with the massacre of Munich '72, where our delegation went to Olympic Games to joy and freedom and peace, and never 11 athletes, referees, and coaches never came back. So it's I think very special feeling to be part of this. And I actually, when for me, I really decided with myself. I was third place in the world in '91, a year and a day and a year before the Olympic Games, and it was also the first medal in World Championships that any Israeli did for Olympic sports. So, all the media in Israel started to push me, and to expect, for success in the Olympic Games. And all this year, it was really tough. On one hand, it was great because, people knew and they appreciate my achievements, and expected for me to become, successful in the Olympic Games. But on the other hand, it was really tough because Israel is a very small country, and if you are famous, people, you know, stop you in the street and hug you and punch you, and just because they like you, and they all ask you, will you bring a medal? Will you do it for us? Are you going to win? And it's like, you know, 100 times a day. In Israel, it's not Michael Jordan that goes with his Porsche and, you know, around in the back door. In Israel, you know, you go in the street and everything is like normal. And really, it was this love that people gave me and the hope. I was only 25 years old, and it was really, really tough. But no one in the street and no one from the media wanted more than me to win. I wanted so much to win. So the most impossible pressure that I felt was from myself. It came from myself. So anyway, I couldn't, you know, get out from this. But it was really tough year. I tried to be mostly out of the country in training camps and competitions. And when I got to the Olympic Games, I was really one of the 2 best in the world in my category. And I was a Paris tournament champion, which is like the Roland Garros or US Open, you know, for tennis. And, you know, in Sport Illustrated and in everywhere, when they wrote who is capable to win medal for Israel, so it was me, and in judo. So it was a lot of pressure, but I was really very confident that I can make it. So I went to the Olympic Games to Barcelona. I came 4 days before. I wanted to approach this competition like any world championships or European. I didn't want to celebrate before or to think that it's different. I went 4 days before, and I was really concentrated. And my brother Yuval came with me to take care of the whole media and everything, because in Israel then it was not that sophisticated, you know, with treating the media and everything, and people were, you know, really bothering me. And you know, in sport there is before the competition there is a draw, and in the draw in judo it's very important. In the draw, I saw that the first few fights I have good competitors, but I knew that, like we say in Hebrew, on the paper, I'm better than them. But as I looked, you know, in the table, I saw that in the semifinal, if I will win the first fights, I will have the world champion, the German. Her name was Aikov, and she was not a strong girl. She was a refrigerator. She was really very tough, aggressive woman. If some of you did wrestling or judo, you know what I mean. It's, you know, that these people that are so strong and, you know, with a heavy body, and she was really aggressive. She had one technique that she threw everybody. She was inviting you to hold her above, and then she was, you know, like this, hugging you, and just take you like this and throw you around the shoulder on the mat there and on you. And it's really, we call it uranage. It's really a tough technique. And once you're, you know, in the air, there is not a lot to do. But she was so strong and aggressive that she could, you know, grab you. And we never fought each other. But my coach, he really liked to spy around and to see all the techniques. And he told me, listen, I know that you might meet Aikov, so I like you to be ready. So, you know, let's make some training on this technique. So we taught my teammates this technique. And it was, we have this Winged Institute in Israel. It's our Olympic training area. And he wanted me all the time to let my teammates to hold me like this and to try to throw me. And he told me, listen, when you're in the air, on the air, just don't be nervous. Hold the leg of Aikov and then throw her to her back. Why? Because in judo, and you know, Lou, in judo, you always have to try to use your opponent power. So if someone push me, I don't push him back. I just take his power and throw him to the same direction. If someone pull me, I don't pull him back, which is the instinct. But I just, if she pulls me, so I try to throw her on her back. So once Aikov try to throw me, you have to take your balance down and then hold her leg and try to throw her to the back. So it sounds very easy, very logic, but it's very tough. I don't want to tell you how many times they throw me on my back, on my head, and I got, ippon on my back, and I cried a lot. But eventually, I think even if you wake me up in the middle of the night, even today, I know how to do it. So I went to the Olympic Games, and I saw the draw, and I saw that if I want to get to the final, to the Olympic final, I have to beat the world champion. And you can imagine mentally what it means. So in the next morning, I woke up, I did a very tough warming up, and then I won the first fights very good. And I went to the warm-up mat. In every competition, you have a warm-up swimming pool, warm-up stadiums. You have also the judo mat. And I stayed there waiting for my semi-final. And I know this is the important fight in my life. And then they call my name. And I go through the tunnel. And I go out to the stadium. 12,000 people in the stadium. I'm, young Yael from Tel Aviv. I'm going to get on the central mat, central stage in the world, in front of 4.5 million people, a billion people that are watching, and all this stadium. And if I like to win an Olympic medal, I have to win against the world champion. And I go there and I know exactly what I have to do. And the fight starts. We have 4 minutes. The fight starts, and she grabbed me and she does a different exercise technique, and she throw me for very small points, but still she's leading. And I'm getting up and I'm telling to myself, you must push her to make this technique, even though it's dangerous. Once she does it, you can throw her. So we start the fight again, and after 2 minutes, I grab her from above, and then she feels that she can throw me. So she grabbed me and started to make this technique. And while I'm on the air, I take my balance down, take her leg, and fall on her back. And the referee, she gives Wazari. Wazari in judo is 7 points. It's not a knockout, but it's very high points. Listen, I will never forget the look in her eyes when she stood up. She stood up, she looked at me, she did like this, she jumped, like she's telling to herself, I'm going to kill you. Now I'm going to kill you. And I was like, oh my God, she's the world champion. She's so aggressive. And I have another 2 minutes. But then, the referee said, Ajime, to start. And Aikov was a very nice woman, but she wasn't very smart. So when the referee said start, she ran to me, grabbed me again, try again to do the same thing. And I was ready already, did the same thing, throw her on her back. And when I saw the referee takes her hands up for my ippon, for the knockout, and I looked at the electronic, watch, when I saw the 3 letters of Israel, ISR, with the yellow letters. I looked at my coach and I understood that I won. I won the semifinal. I won against the world champion. I went to the final. I won an Olympic medal. And it was the first Olympic medal to Israel. And, it goes from your brain to your heart. And once you understand that you did it, it's like you get crazy. You don't think, you cannot prepare yourself to this moment. You just start jumping like crazy. If you see the clips from this fight, it's like crazy. You start jump like crazy, and you know, it's joy and satisfaction in 1 second that you cannot explain in words. And you know, I went out of the I went to my team, to my coach. I looked at the Israeli crowd with the Israeli flag. There were maybe 200 people there, Israelis, but it was for me like the whole country was there. And we were just crying and you know, hugging. And then, you know, in judo, the fights are during the whole day. So from the first fight to the final, it's in 1 day, and it's really tough. But I couldn't think about the final. I was all my thoughts and you know, everything I thought is only about this victory. And then a friend of mine, I had like a mentor from Austria. He came to me, he was 2 times Olympic champion. And he grabbed my shoulder and said, Yael, stop celebrating. You still have the final. Go to the warming up mat and you know, wait for the final. So me and my coach and the team, okay, let's stop celebrating. We went to the warm up mat and we stayed there. You know, I ate something. We had 1.5 hours. And the final was against Fleury. She was French. She was the former world champion. And she was a very tough girl. But I already fought against her. I beat her once or twice. So I knew I can beat her. And then, you know, they call our names. We go out. In this stage, you're not nervous anymore. You know, you just want to go and do it. And then we went to the mat with all this crowd, and we gave the best fight we could. But the fight was, the end was without any score. And in judo, today we have golden score. You continue until someone win. But then it wasn't like this. There were 3 referees on the mat, and they had to decide who attacked more, who was better. Imagine yourself. Only 11,000 athletes from all over the world get to the Olympic Games, and only, you know, very few get to the final. And you get to the final, and you cannot, you know, influence anymore to win. You have to wait to the decision of the referees. And then, you know, I look at the referees. They hold the flags in their hands, and then one referee, he gives, you know, the victory to Fleury, and the second one gives the victory to me. And the middle one, which was a Chinese woman, she take her hand, and I see her hand goes to Fleury. And that's how I lost the gold medal. The gold medal, the tikva, the flag. It was really a big disappointment for me. I was like, I can't believe it happens to me. And of course, it's okay, you know. I also won many times this way, but it was so disappointing. So I started to cry. I didn't remember anymore that I was so happy 1.5 hours ago. I took the tracksuit of Israel. I went to the podium. I stand up on the podium. I fulfilled my dream. I won an Olympic medal, the first Olympic medal for Israel. And, you know, I don't have any smiling picture on the podium. All my pictures are like this. And it's crazy. Sometimes I look at it and I say, smile, because, you know, it's unbelievable. But I was so disappointed. I felt such a disappointment that I was crying. And of course, afterwards, I got back to Israel. I was like, it's like to come from Hollywood, you know. I was 25 years old and really, you know, a normal girl. And I worked so hard to get to fulfill my dream, but I got back, and thousands of people waited for me in the airport, and I even got a car as a present, Alfa Romeo, Italian car as a present, a red Alfa Romeo. They didn't care that I come from Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is blue and yellow. And I was like standing there, you know, I couldn't even hug my parents because I couldn't make it to meet them. And I looked at all this crowd and people were crazy. And it was unbelievable, really. I think it's once in a lifetime you can have this kind of feeling, and you know, it's crazy. I must admit that after 28 years, I still go in the street and people hug me all the time, and are so happy and really know how to appreciate this excellence and this achievement. And you know, even young children in Israel at school, they're making a lot of you know, work and special seminars on these achievements. And it's really great that people in Israel know how to appreciate this hard work. And you know, for me it was a disappointment, but when I saw how much how people were proud and happy, I understood that it was a great thing.
Super. I think everybody wanted to hear that story. I have just one comment and one more, excuse me, quick question for you about judo in Israel. Israel's a world power in judo now. Do you feel that that 92 moment started the trend and moving it forward? And the second part of that question, before my comment after you answer that, and we have to make it quick, is you think we're going to have Israel win a gold medal in judo in 2021?
Yes, I think that once you see in America, you know how it goes. For you, it's very obvious that American athletes are winning medals, gold medals. You know, it will be very disappointing if American stars will not do it. In Israel, we didn't have the tradition, not in judo nor in any sport. And once we grew the tradition, myself and then Oren Smaja and then Arik Zeevi, and nowadays Ori Sasson, Yarden Jerbi, and we have a world champion, Muki Sagi. Is very talented and very good, and he's a world champion. So I think that when you grow tradition, and children in young age, when they get to judo class, and they know deep inside that if they want to be recognized as good judo players in Israel, they have to win. Because if they don't win a European title or a world title or an Olympic medal, you know, it's not special. So once you get to this point when it's a traditional sport and the winning is something that is common in this sport, and it's possible, you don't have to come from Russia or from I don't know where in order to be a winner. So it makes you a better judo player, a better athlete. And of course, we grew here coaches, which is very important. You can't have success in sport if you don't have good coaches, which in Israel, it's not always obvious. In Israel, the country doesn't like to invest so much money in coaches. But once you have the knowledge, the coaches, the infrastructure, and you don't have barriers of you know judo halls or mats or like you have in athletics or swimming pools. So you know it gives you the ability to win. And I believe that you know today we're doing a very good job, and I believe that not only in judo, by the way, Israel is very good now in gymnastics. We have a good possibility to win Olympic medals in gymnastics and for men and women. And we're growing good swimmers now, very good. And we have windsurfers, very good. So, you know, we're a small country. We can't be good in any sport. So we have the to put most of the money and the efforts in the sports that we have the ability to win. But we are really doing very good. You know, if I won in '89 the first European medal ever for Olympic sports in Israel, today in every 4 years we have between 35 to 40 European and world medals in all Olympic sport in Israel. So we did a long journey, and I think today we have 9 Olympic medals, and I think we're doing well.
I have just one more comment before we have to go soon, and I'm going to turn it to Danny to say goodbye. I said this to Ori when he was on, and I want you to know the same thing. You've done these things for yourself, your family, your friends in Israel, but without knowing it, you've done it for every Jew in the world. Everybody that follows sports and follows Israel and has the pride of your country and the people of the country know that you've won a medal, and it makes us all over the world feel very proud too. So for that, I want to thank you. It's so good. And I'll turn it to Danny to say goodbye. And I thank you for being with us today. It was great to listen to you and talk to you. Danny?
Thank you very much.
Damn it, Lou, you make me cry.
Yeah, I know. I learned that from the Israelis.
Yeah, we're trying to be very mindful with the time, and obviously it's the end of the day for you, so you might be exhausted. Do you allow me?
I'm not
You're
exhausted,
good?
and I'm ready to answer questions if you like. It's fine.
So here's the thing. Some of our friends may need to leave for another call that take part on the parallel line, and it's perfectly fine. I'd like to thank Lou and all the officers, including Jeff Buchan's Maccabi USA's president, who joined us for this call. And I will ask maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and there are some questions from the audience. So if you feel that you had enough, just let me know. And,
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm a warrior, you know.
Yeah, I know that. I did some research. I know that. Your transition from a professional athlete to the civilian side was quite smooth, and that's I guess it's not a common thing. It's not usual for every professional athlete. Can you share with us what are the major takeaways that you took from your judo career, and how did you implement them in your business life later on?
It's a great question.
I know it's a whole lecture that you are presenting. So maybe okay. Just some points.
Yeah, you know, actually the same tools that made me a worldwide athlete are the same tools that I'm using in my civilian life. And you know, when I retired, I was 29, and I decided that I would like to go to business, even though I came from a house that, you know, my parents were not business people, and very far from this. And but you know, something I felt that it's an attractive way for me. And I didn't feel that the fact that I choose a judo class when I was 8 years old, you know, maybe this is the reason that I have to become a coach and this and that. I was coaching, but I didn't want to stay, you know, in the sports space as a work or career, you know, late career. And I felt I like to do some other things, and I like to prove myself that I can do some other things. And I needed a change. You know, it's a tough life to be a professional athlete, and I really wanted to make it today, to do a change. And then I went to study business, and you know, I had to start all over again. Imagine yourself that I don't think you can find another profession that you have to just retire in a young age when you are the best in the world and start all over again.
All over again.
I don't think you can find any other sport. It's very tough. Mentally, it's very tough. And especially, you know, athletes that are not a football player or basketball, NBA player or football or whatever. Usually we don't really earn, you know, a lot of money in our career, and you have to start your life from scratch. And for myself personally, because I was the first to win an Olympic medal, I was, you know, I became very famous. I did a lot of advertising, and I got you know, nice incomes, and I had a nice start. I had to work and everything, but I had a nice start for life, not like most of the Olympic athletes in Israel. But I was, you know, I wanted to have a new success, and then I went to business. I didn't know what I will do, but I started step by step. And I can tell you today that after almost 20 years, that the same, you know, the same tools or the same infrastructure in my personality, the same way I did my way to the top in sport, I behave the same in business. You know, I trained very hard in order to become good in what I decided to do, and I knew that I have to make all the effort. I can't, you know, have a judo club and twice a week coach, and then work a little bit here. I cannot think that because I'm famous, people will just let me go to, you know, to their office, and then I will, you know, no, I knew that in Israel it's very easy. You can call someone, say your name, and you can get a meeting. But this is only to get into the office. But then if you want to get out, you know, successfully, you have to prove that you are not the girl with the medal. You have to prove that you know what you're doing. And I understood it, and I came quite envy to this situation, and I understood that my name is very nice, but I have to work hard. And you know, step by step, I built myself, but I took a lot of understanding, you know, from my first career to my new life. And maybe I give you one example. You know that in sports, athletes, everybody, Carl Lewis, Usain Bolt, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, everybody, you know, we wake up in the morning and we're training. What does it mean that we are training? We're looking for the disadvantages that we have, and we're trying to become better. But in normal life, especially in our age, you know, no one is training. You know, you get up in the morning, you think to yourself, I'm very good in what I do. Okay, you know, in back mind that there are things that you're not doing very well, but you prefer to think about your strong point and not your weakness. And I think every day that I wake up in the morning, I think like an athlete. I think that I have to strengthen my weaknesses, and not only to show the world my strength. And this is something that Messi and Ronaldo and every, you know, Federer, every good athlete in the world wakes up, even if he's a world champion, wakes up every morning for training. And you know, when we think about it, it's something that when you are young, you think, okay, I have to become better. But when you're, you know, 50 years old, you think, okay, I'm good. Well, it's okay. I know everything. And I think that every single day, doesn't matter in any age, we have to think how we can become better, because otherwise we will, you know, stop going forward. And this is a way of thinking that you bring your philosophy from sport to your, you know, second life. And there are many analogies like this that I do from sport to life.
I've mentioned earlier that your business path is more oriented towards the children's production, content, and products. And
Yeah.
I'm curious if it was just a coincidence. Was that the first business that you were involved in, and you figure out that you are so good at it, and you just stayed and carry on, or was there a special passion to this industry? Because I assume obviously someone who comes from the judo world is maybe related might be related as an aggressive person, or not necessarily someone who's good with children or understanding children needs.
Yeah, first of all, about judo or martial art, I think that the most important part in your personality is self-discipline and self-control. You are not aggressive. You can be aggressive. You can be very calm, but the most important thing is to control yourself and to see the whole picture and to think fast and to be able to think under pressure. Because judo is 4 minutes, it's not 90 minutes, it's not 60 minutes, not 5 games like tennis. It's it's very fast. So you have to be able to have self-control and think fast under pressure. And if I get back to your question, I think if I have to think about myself, I'm entrepreneur. I'm able to see what many other people cannot see, far away. And as you know, from judo, I can go a long way without a street, without a way. I just can do it by myself. So this is something that is main thing in my personality. And second is I'm a person for business development. I like to, I can do things as I said without a path. And when I started business, I started from other things, but I got into this opportunity. And I realized that, the brand Michael Jordan or the brand SpongeBob is in brand management is very similar. Okay, you have to understand the advantages of the brand and you have to manage it. And it's about commercial side of brands and about business development and then. Once I met this space, I realized that I can be very good in it, and it was very interesting for me. It's a very interesting industry, huge industry all around the world, and I grew up, to this industry in the business, and within this, because children are. They adapt technology very easy. So I started to work with startups in toy tech and sport tech and some other techs. And, today I'm also involved a lot in gaming business. I work with very big companies. So, it's like you develop yourself into a space that is looks interesting for you and you feel that you can become an expert. So,
That's awesome. Yael, I know that part of your volunteering is also you're trying to create a better experience and a better future for the younger generation of Israeli Olympic athletes. You're involved in the Israeli Olympic Committee. I know that you created a special program for the day after the sports career ends for the professional athletes. You've mentioned it before. If you can just briefly, share with us what is your main focus inside the Israeli Olympic Committee, and if there are, if you see the future, what should the Olympic Committee focus on?
Yeah, because when I grew up in the Israeli sport, we didn't have a lot of support, and I'm not saying it because I was. It was a bad experience. I had my dream and I went my way, but I thought that the Israeli, Olympic Committee or federations had to support us more. We didn't feel in my generation that they really put the athletes in the center. It was like the managers were in the center, but we were, there going around, and we didn't feel that we had enough support. And I promised myself that maybe after 20 years that I will retire and I will feel that I can put some time for my community. I will go back and give back to the community, and then try to bring my philosophy to the Israeli Olympic Committee. And when I came back almost 8 years ago, I was 45. I was already, I could allow myself contribute back, and I was the youngest person around the table. Most of the people around the table in Israel that are, in management, in sport, in the directors, it's voluntarily, of course. So there are 65, 70, 75. And I came maybe the only former athlete, the only woman, and for them I was like their daughter. And I said, listen, sport is for the athletes, and let's put the human resource in the middle. Let's put the athletes, the coaches in the middle. And they were looking at me like, okay. And then I started to build projects. And as I said, I'm an entrepreneur. So I brought a list of 5 projects that I wanted to do. Mental project, the day after project, coaches project. And I started to build them and to bring money from everywhere. And after the first project, I said, okay, it looks good. So what do you want else to do? And, step by step, I started to bring more projects. And I think today, everybody are very happy that, we are human resource oriented. We see our job, volunteer job, for the athletes, for their, everything is for them. Our budgets are oriented only for the elite sport and not for management and not for anything else. And if you talk to our athletes today, they're very happy, and you can see a big change that we did. And I'm very satisfied with of course, it's not enough yet, and we always can do better, but I think we're on the right way.
That's awesome. Yeah, last question, I promise. And this one is actually from the audience.
Eventually, we will stay only you and me.
I know. Works with me. Okay. What is it about the sports of judo that makes Israelis so successful in? And I would add, do you anticipate additional more medals to come for our judokas?
So I think, we are the Israelis, we are warriors. It's, I don't have to explain, it's this kind of country that we wake up in the morning and we have to fight all the time, not only in combats, and in the army. We're fighters. It's a small country, tough country. Nothing is easy here, but we like it very much. And we're fighters. We have this temperament. And on top, I think the there are sports that you need certain abilities, you know, special abilities like long distance running or to become very fast. It's you know, it's a physiologic talent, and I think for judo we have this talent, the size, the you know, we have the talent, and on top there are no barriers. You don't need, you know, big halls. You know, you don't need a lot of money to put a judo hall in. You know, you can take a basement, you can put a mat, and you have a judo club. And once we got the tradition and we understood it's possible, so, you know, all these puzzle parts went together. And today, as we talked about the Olympic Committee, I look at the sport not only from the judo glasses, but from, you know, all sport. And I think that we did a very big improvement in a few other sports. Today, you can see that we, in gymnastic, in sailing, in or windsurfing, in swimming, and in judo, we're much better. And also in marathon, we have, you know, Ethiopian Israeli that came from Ethiopia. They're very talented, and once our coaches started to understand the job, we started to have very good results. We have, you know, Lona Chamtai, I don't know if you know, she is a European champion for 10,000 meters, and she has the best, I think the best time of the year of 2019. She's really very good, and we have a very good group, some also a few men. So I think we did a big improvement in the Israeli elite sport. And today it's not only one leg to the table, it's, you know, few legs. And it's the judo, it's the gymnastics. So of course we look forward to win more medals in judo, but not only. We have Linoy Ashram, the artistic gymnastic, which is, you know, she's second place in the world. She's very stable, she's very good. And we have Artyom Dolopiat, is also a very good gymnastic performance. We have very good athletes. It's great to see it. There are Israelis, you know, many of them are Sabras, and they're really great. So we're looking forward.
Yael, thank you so much for joining us today. It was fascinating and exciting to interview you, and I really hope that we will have a chance to meet again. There are so many questions that I plan to ask you, and yet the time is, I guess it's about time for us to say goodbye. I'd like to thank everybody, everyone who stayed with us until the end. You're real fighters. It was great to see you all. Our next session of Café Israeli is scheduled to June the 1st. We'll have a fascinating conversation about Israel's position